If you are looking to use OpenAI's models like ChatGPT 4 or any other model from OpenAI through API, then Assistant's API is the way to go. This Assistant's API has just been released, which is not only very powerful but also quite flexible and easy to use. It is the evolution of Completion API from OpenAI. So if you want to access the models through your Python code, if you want to do inference on them, if you want to run code interpreter, if you want to do retrieval, if you want to do RAG or any other operation on OpenAI's model, or if you want to integrate those models within your own applications, then I would highly suggest that you look at Assistant's API. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to Assistant's API in very simple words. Plus, I'm also going to show you the code and run it as how you can actually integrate this Assistant API with your own applications and how can you use it. So let's get started. Before I show you the code, first let me explain the concept behind this Assistant's API in simple diagram. If you look at this diagram, what is happening here is that on the left hand side you have your assistant. Assistant or agent is a concept which we use in OpenAI that enables us to ask model to do something. So for example, if you want to ask ChatGPT 4 to analyze one of your document, then you can simply create an assistant out of it. Or in another words, for example, if you want to build a custom chatbot or a custom assistant on your own documents, for example, on your legal documents or medical documents, then you can create a medical assistant or legal assistant. In this example, which I'll be showing you very shortly, we are going to create an Oracle DB assistant. So this is the whole concept behind assistant. So assistant is simply a way to ask ChatGPT 4 or any other OpenAI model to do something related to your own data, to your own task. Secondly, the concept is thread. Thread is independent of the assistant, but thread enables us to keep track of all the chat with your assistant. For example, in this example, we have users asking what is LGWR, which stands for log writer by the way, and then assistant, which is on the left hand side, replies with an answer. Now we have a third concept which is run. Run combines assistant with thread. So as soon as a user asks a question, it gets put into the thread, and from there run picks it up and attaches or sends it to the appropriate assistant, which then runs it. So it is quite flexible. You can use this thread with other assistants too. For example, if your organizations have different assistants for different tasks, you can orchestrate them with the help of this thread and run. You can put all the user messages in the thread, and then on the basis of some criteria, then you can send that message to the appropriate assistant and then get the result back. So this is the whole concept behind Assistant's API. So there are three main concepts: assistant, thread, and run. Now that's out of the way. Let me take you the code and let's write it one by one as we progress further. So this is my Visual Studio Code editor. The first prerequisite you need to do is to make sure that you're running the latest version of OpenAI. If you don't have it, then simply do pip install OpenAI -- upgrade. If you would have already OpenAI installed, it will upgrade it, and if you don't, it will install the latest version. I already have it. Let me quickly show you my version. So pip show OpenAI grep version. That's it. So I have 1.6.1 version installed. I hope that it's the latest one. I just upgraded it yesterday, but they are updating it every day, so it could be the old one, but that is fine. 1.6.1 is good enough for our use case. Now let's start writing the code where we would be creating the assistant, and then we will use it. The first step, let's import some of the required libraries, which are quite usual: JSON, OS, OpenAI, and these are the ones which I'll be using to have some times. Okay, so that's done. Now in the next step, let's create an assistant in OpenAI. So this is the code which I'm going to use. This line number 7 and 8, it is just defining a simple function to display the JSON in a proper format, and this display function is being imported from this IPython library. I have just created it to make JSON looks pretty. You can omit it if you want. And then this line is important and needed. In line number 10, I'm just creating a client from OpenAI because OpenAI is what I'm going to use. And this is the meat of this code where I'm simply using the client. This client is this OpenAI client dot beta dot assistants dot create. So this is creating an assistant. We are just giving a name because we are creating an Oracle DB assistant. You can give it any name you want. And this is the system instruction which we need to pass to assistant so that assistant would know what it's supposed to do. So for example, I'm asking it that you're an Oracle DBA, answer question briefly in a sentence or less. And you can make it as you like. If you want a detailed answer, just write here how much detail you want and it will provide it to you. And then I'm asking it that this assistant is going to use GPT-4 model, which is still in preview. You can use GPT 3.5 or any other OpenAI's model here. Once that's done, I'm going to print out that assistant because when you create it, this assistant variable contains a JSON. I'm just using this my show JSON function, which I just created here, to dump all the JSON and show me in a proper format. Now before I run it, there is a very important thing which you need to know is that you need to have an OpenAI's API key, which would be a paid thing unfortunately. So it will be in this format like OpenAI API key and SK dash. So if you don't have it, log into OpenAI's website and create an API key. I think when you initially sign up, they give you $5 to $10 credit, and so you can use it for this demo. But if you already have an account there, your credit might have expired. So in that case, you would need to pay $20 per month US plus cost for input and output tokens, which is not huge, but still it is. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of it. I already have my key, which I will put in later on instead of showing you now. Okay, or maybe let me put it there and then I will run this to show you that how the assistant gets created. So let me put my key here. Okay, so I have put in my key in the environment, which should be good. And now let's create the assistant. So I'm running py assistant API. Let's run it. And I'm hoping that it is going to show me an assistant ID with all that assistant information. There you go. So this is our assistant ID, which we need to save, as this is what we are going to use in the future. If you want, you can even log into OpenAI's website, and in their platform.openai.com, in the assistant menu, you should be able to see this assistant there too. Great stuff. Now, in the next step, we are going to create a thread, because if you remember, there are 3 items in Assistant's API: assistant, thread, and run. We already have created the assistant. Now let's create the thread to hold the whole chat, user and assistant messages. For that, this is a code which we need to use. So what we are doing here is, this is the assistant which was created. We are grabbing the assistant ID and assigning it to this variable. Now because we already have created it, no point in creating it again and again. So let me quickly comment it just by Control K C. And then we already have this assistant ID. Let's grab it from here and then paste in this variable. There you go. So now we have our assistant ID. We don't have to create it again and again. Now at line number 23 and 24, we are creating the thread by simply using the similar command like we did in assistant. We are now here doing it client.beta.threads.create, and then we will be displaying it. And then we are passing this thread a message that create message, because we are putting the message of user in it. We are just asking it, okay, thread ID is this is a user, and what is log writer in Oracle database, can you help me? And then we will display the message. So let's create the thread and let me show you this message, or maybe first let me show you the thread and we will go step by step. Let me simply make it commented. There you go. And let me save it and run it. Let me quickly clear my screen and now let's run it. So what would happen here, it is going to create this thread because we already have created our assistant ID. There you go. Now we have created this thread and this is our thread ID. Great stuff. Now in the next step, let's also put a message here and then we will show the message. Let me uncomment it by Control KU, and maybe I'll just comment this one because we don't want to display it again and again to avoid the clutter. Okay, that is good. And now let's run it again. Let me clear my screen. There you go. Hopefully it should show us this JSON with the message. There you go. So you can see that this is a message ID here, and there is no assistant ID because we have already because thread is independent of assistant ID. And then this is the question which user has asked. Okay, so and this is a thread ID which we already have seen previously, and because we are using the same thread. Okay, great stuff. Okay, so now it's time to pass this message to the LLM, to GPT-4, and then so that it would return us the answer, which is the primary purpose which we want to make sure. So I'm just commenting this show JSON. So if you remember, this is the last bit, the run. We created first assistant, then we created this thread, we put it in our message in there, and now we are creating the run, and run is the place. We are creating the run, and run is the place which connects this thread with assistant ID, which has the model. So assistant would go into this thread, pick out this user message, and then will return us the answer, which we will display here. So this is the whole thing which we need to run now. Maybe I'm just not going to show this run here just to keep the things clear. So all I'm going to do is just show the messages from both user and from assistant. User message we already have, assistant message would be the response to it. So let's run it. Let me clear my screen first, and now let's run it. And I'll just make the screen a bit bigger so that we would be able to see the messages. Let's wait for it to come back. There you go. Now what it has shown us that what is log writer in Oracle database, can you help me? And then it should have returned us the response. Just hang on, let me make it a bit bigger. Oh, it's not letting me make bigger. Maybe I'll just move it here. Okay, now it's better. Now when you run the run, basically it gets queued and then it waits for model to return the answer. But as you can see, as soon as I ran it, it asynchronously came back and gave me this. In the subsequent video, we'll create a function which will wait for model to come back, but it's good that we can see it. Let me run it again. There you go. Let's see if it has come back with the response or still waiting. It is still waiting, it seems. Let's wait for it to come back. Okay, this time it was able to return me the answer after waiting for some time. So if you look at this output, what is happening here is that these are all JSON results. Result 1, 2, and then 3. These are all the chats within that thread. If you check out this first one, then in this first one, look at the status. Status is queued here. So it means that this is still waiting for LLM to process this prompt or question that you are an Oracle DBA from here. And then in this next one, you can see that the status is completed. And again, this is our question, you are Oracle DBA. And then if you look at this one here, this is the last one. The status is of course completed, but this time we also have an answer. And this is the answer. You can see this is a content, and then you can see the content is log writer is a background process in Oracle database that is responsible for writing the content. So here first you ask the question, and here at the end when it completed, it has returned you the answer. You can of course do some JSON manipulation to just return this content from within this output of data. But just stand back a little and just appreciate it, that how easy it is to create an assistant. I mean, on your own custom domain. You can even send or upload your own files with it. I have done another video where I show how you can use your own data file in CSV or PDF or any other format with these assistants and their tools. So let me know if you're stuck or if you're facing any issues. I'll be happy to help out. And if you like the content, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you very much.